if the ICC issues arrest warrants, will he comply and ensure that these individuals are arrested if they enter the UK?
Mr. Speaker, always nice to see the Change Labour Party in action.
Right, so we are in the election month now. In 6 weeks' time, Britain will go for the elections, and chances are that we will never see Rishi Sunak as the Prime Minister of this country. As the Prime Minister of the country, he was addressing the Parliament, perhaps for the last time yesterday, when he rose in the Parliament to take part in the PMQ. And one episode that really caught my attention, and I don't know if you were paying attention to what happened, was his utter disgust for a Muslim MP called Zarah Sultana. Now, he's had several encounters with Zarah Sultana in the past on the issue of Gaza, so much so that he was even accused of indulging in Islamophobia right in the heart of Parliament by his fellow MPs. It had taken Nawaz Shah to accuse Prime Minister of indulging in Islamophobia and asking him to apologize. So Zarah Sultana was asking a pointed question about International Criminal Court accepting an application for the issue of arrest warrant against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his defense minister, as well as 3 Hamas leaders. What she was asking, what Prime Minister thinks about it and whether it will impact UK government's decision and relationship with Israel if International Criminal Court agrees to issue an arrest warrant. It was a simple question, and answer should have been simple: whether this country believes in the rule of law and should abide by whatever the outcome of the International Criminal Court is. But no, he was utterly disdainful. He first took a pot shot at Zarah Sultana, called her the face of a new Labour Party in a veiled reference to Labour Party being anti-Semitic, and then he accused International Criminal Court of being unhelpful on Gaza issue.
The International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor is seeking arrest warrants for Israeli and Hamas leaders for war crimes and crimes against humanity. This House does not aid and abet Hamas, but it does aid and abet Israel through arms sales like components for Israeli F-35s, known as the most lethal fighter jet on earth, which are raining down hell on Gaza. So, will the Prime Minister uphold international law, drop the nonsense about the most robust licensing system in the world, and end arms sales to Israel? And if the ICC issues arrest warrants, will he comply and ensure that these individuals are arrested if they enter the UK?
Mr. Speaker, always nice to see the Change Labour Party in action. When it comes to the ICC, this is a deeply unhelpful development, Mr. Speaker, which is, of course, still subject to a final decision. There is no moral equivalence between a democratically elected government exercising its lawful right to self-defence and the actions of a terrorist group. And the actions of the ICC do absolutely nothing to get a pause in the fighting, to get the hostages out, or aid in.
Now, this is not the first time, as I said. In January, if you remember, this issue had dominated media headlines globally. We too had reported from Janta Ka Reporter that Britain was taking actions against Houthis in the Red Sea. And Zarah Sultana had asked a question to Rishi Sunak about the role that Britain should be playing in de-escalating the situation. Now, again, it was a simple question which should have had a very simple answer. But no, his answer was that perhaps this lady, which is Zarah Sultana, should do her bit in asking Hamas and Houthis. Clearly, it was a reference to her faith as Muslim, that she was a Muslim MP, and Houthis and Hamas are Muslim as well, so therefore she should talk to them directly to de-escalate the situation. As if Zarah Sultana was raising a question in a parliament, in a Hamas parliament or Houthi parliament.
Zarah Sultana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, past mistakes in the Middle East should have taught this House that military intervention starting out as limited can quickly escalate, risking a sequence of events far larger and more terrible and risk even dragging us into war. It is for this reason, according to reports in the Times, that Foreign Office officials were, and I quote, incredibly nervous about last week's military assault in Yemen. Driving the region's instability is Israel's horrifying assault on Gaza, which has now lasted more than 100 days. So rather than giving Israel the green light to continue its brutal bombardment of Gaza and risking a wider conflict, will the Prime Minister seek to de-escalate the situation and call for an immediate ceasefire?
Prime Minister.
Perhaps the Honourable Lady would do well to call on Hamas and the Houthis to de-escalate the situation.
This joker forgot that she was asking a question in a British Parliament. And he is the Prime Minister of United Kingdom. So it was an absolutely appropriate question to be asked to a British Prime Minister. Now, Naz Shah, another Labour MP, had asked Prime Minister to apologise, reflect on his action and apologise. But then, as you would expect from Rishi Sunak, he refused to apologise.
And it really has been a new low and a new painful blow today for the Prime Minister to say to a British Muslim in this House, a member for Coventry South, that she should tell Hamas and Houthis to stop doing what they're doing. That is an Islamophobic trope, Mr Deputy Speaker. Maybe the Prime Minister will reflect, withdraw and take the opportunity to show leadership and apologise. Coming back to the question, Mr Deputy Speaker, the government itself...
Question. I'm going to take it at that, please.
Now, I would say to the Honourable Lady, I have said to all members consistently not to conflate these conflicts, and when they're calling on the UK to de-escalate tensions, to recognise that the people who are causing these situations in the first place is the Hamas terrorist organisation and the Houthis, and it's got nothing to do with anything else other than to recognise the instigators of this violence and illegality and make sure that that is uppermost in everybody's minds when we have these conversations about the best way to respond.
Now, I had a problem with Naz Shah. I think she wasn't forceful enough. I think that's a problem I have with Muslim MPs. If this thing had happened to a Jewish MP, make no mistake, they would have brought the entire proceedings to a standstill. She was too soft. Both of the MPs were too soft. And of course, they did not get any support from the Labour leadership. Now, another development happened on the same day, right after Zarah Sultana had asked a question. There is an MP, Jewish MP called Andrew Percy. He had accused Zarah Sultana of giving a free pass to terrorist organizations. Of course, he was referring to Hamas.
Too many people give a free pass to the terrorists who perpetrated the worst murder of Jews, and we've just seen an example of that, just as we saw examples of that on our streets this weekend, where people screamed, "Yemen, Yemen, turn another ship around." Completely unacceptable. One thing that links the Houthis, Hezbollah and Hamas is their genocidal intent toward Jews and their hatred of everything we stand for in the Western democracies, which is why it is incumbent upon us to defend those values. So can I agree with everything the Prime Minister has said, and can I urge him once more to make sure our police are taking action against those who on our street openly support terrorism?
Prime Minister.
Well, can I reassure my honourable friend that the police do have extensive powers to arrest those who incite violence or racial hatred. Of course, we keep all laws under review. We're working with the police whether we need to strengthen those powers, but I've been absolutely clear that there must be zero tolerance for anti-Semitism and any forms of racism. We will not stand by when we see that happen, and the police should make sure that those who do that face the full force of the law.
Now, Zarah Sultana took dim view of it and asked for an apology from him, asked the acting speaker to take action, but nothing happened.
Order, Mr Deputy Speaker, and in line with the House's rules, I informed the member in question that I would be referencing him. In the previous statement, the member for Brigham Ghoul implied that I had just, and I quote, given a free pass to the terrorists who carried out the October the 7th attack. Mr Deputy Speaker, that claim is grotesquely untrue. My question to the Prime Minister in no way had that implication. I was calling for a de-escalation in the region and for an immediate ceasefire, and his accusation is absolutely untrue. In this House and elsewhere, I have repeatedly condemned the actions of Hamas and called for the release of all hostages. Moreover, the member's gross accusation is playing to a racist trope, implying that because I am a Muslim, I support Hamas. So with rising Islamophobia and racist tropes asking British Muslims to prove their loyalty, can I ask you for guidance on how to get a full retraction and apology from the member for Brig and Ghoul?
Further to that point of order, Andrew Percy.
As loath as I am to engage in this silliness, let me be absolutely clear. Let me be absolutely clear to the Honourable Lady. Not only did I not reference her, I have on numerous, if she would let me, if she'd listen to the response, on numerous occasions I have said too many people have failed to call out what I think is unacceptable. I've said that before. I'm not going to stop saying that I think people have given a free pass on occasions to behaviour and have not dealt with this with a fair hand. That is an open point of debate. I have called people out on my own side for that. If she could sit here and listen to me, it has absolutely nothing to do with the thing. But I don't want to engage in this silliness. So I will say to the Honourable Lady, I have absolutely no intention of inferring at all that she is in any... Let me respond. That she is in any way in support of any of that. I'm sure she isn't. I never said that. I would never say that. But I'm also, Mr Deputy Speaker, not going to not say what I think on issues in this House and call out what I think is on this issue. Too many people in this place giving a free pass to one side whilst not acknowledging the horrors that the other side suffered.
So there has been a history of Rishi Sunak behaving with Muslim MPs in a certain way. Now, whether or not we will see Rishi Sunak again in the parliament as the Prime Minister of this country, only time will say. But if he doesn't return to the parliament as a Prime Minister, I think this will be a great thing for this country. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.